Alright, legends, welcome along to a new episode of Hellmouth Hotline. We're getting into a little chat about Buffy the Vampire Slayer in this one. This is season 4, episode 8, I want to say. Hopefully I'm right in that one. If not, I apologise. But this one's called PANGS. And we get Angel back in this episode. So this is... I've made no secret about it when it comes to Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the spin-off Angel. I am in the corner of Angel far more than Buffy. But this podcast was originally conceived as a Buffy the Vampire Slayer podcast. So bear with me if you're into the movies, the reviews of movies about on Fridays on this channel, all been well. So I got a message this morning actually from a guy that was interested, and it was a movie review that he had left it on. So if you happen to be listening to this one, this is to you, man. Friday nights is the night for the movies, but we're going to be doing Buffy on a Monday night. Of course, this is Tuesday, but depending on whenever you listen to this, doesn't really matter. But the idea is Monday nights Buffy, Wednesday nights Angel, and then we'll do a horror movie on Friday. So we're just going to work our way through all the episodes because it's good stuff. It's classic stuff. So in this one, Buffy is patrolling at the beginning of the episode, and she comes across a vampire, takes him out easily enough, and the camera pans across. We see Angel is watching her from behind some bushes, trying to stay out of sight. So if you're following the series and the way they were aired, and the episode of Angel prior to this, Doyle got a vision that Buffy was in trouble, so this is Angel turning up to help her out. We cut to the next day where the college's dean is working on the groundbreaking ceremony for a new anthropology building. Xander, he's there, he's one of the construction workers, and this is his new job. This series so far, it's the college years essentially for Buffy now, and they're freshmen, but Xander didn't go to college, so he's in and out of different jobs, been a bit of a waster, but he's a construction worker at the start of this. As the ceremony finishes and the dean shovels up the first mound of dirt to officially open this construction area, Xander starts to dig with the rest of the workers, but 2 or 3 shovelfuls into the dirt, the ground suddenly caves in below him, and he drops into an abandoned building, which we soon discover as a long lost mission that was buried in an earthquake centuries ago. So Buffy, throughout this episode, she's upset that their mother is going out of town for Thanksgiving, and she decides to cook her own Thanksgiving dinner and invite all her friends. So a good part of the episode is a good bit of comedy in this episode, revolving around this dinner that she's trying to make, and we get to see Spike and a good bit of comedy in this one as well. He's walking about, he's escaped the initiative, of course. He can no longer hurt people or bite people without real psychological pain because of this chip that the initiative have put in his head. And he's walking about, and you really do feel sorry for him in this episode. You see him walking around, and of course he's still evil, and he's at one point he's walking about and he looks through this window into this building, and there's vampires getting into a victim, starting to bite him, and he's all feeling sorry for himself. So Spike is a great character. Anyway, Anya arrives at Xander's house the following morning, wondering why he's not at work. She went there she was perving on him at the beginning of the episode. He was down to his vest, and she's like, I'm waiting for his muscles to start rippling and start sweating and everything, and I would imagine sleeping with him and all this nonsense. So she turns up at the site the next morning. There's no sign of him, so she goes to his house, and he's sick, and right away she starts taking care of him, looking after him. being the good girlfriend, and he accidentally actually calls her, "You're a good girlfriend" at one point. So it's an interesting relationship that these two start to have throughout the rest of the series. Yes, a green haze appears, comes up from the old mission, and goes to the cultural centre where some weapons are being kept. And after this green haze makes contact with a knife, it turns into a large Native American man who kills the curator and takes the knife. Buffy and Willow later secretly investigate the murder, and they wonder why the curator's body was missing an ear. And of course, they discover that this Shumash knife is missing. I hope I'm pronouncing that word right. Shumash Indian tribe. So they go to see Giles and whatnot, and they want to do the dinner at his place. After he agrees to look up information on the Shumash people, Buffy leaves, and Angel appears from Giles' back room, and he's came to Sunnydale because, of course, as I already said, his friend had the vision of Buffy in danger, and Giles isn't happy about this. Why? It's not fair in Buffy you coming back after the agreement to step away from each other, and they have their back and forth moment where Angel's saying, I can't let her see me because that might make her be less focused and maybe get her killed and whatnot, and completely blown out of proportion, as Willow actually says later on in the episode. It's all nonsense, and yes, but it is what it is. And I prefer Angel in his own series and the LA. It is class. I can't wait to do that review tomorrow. It's actually a pretty good episode. At the end of this episode, to jump ahead, Buffy does eventually find out that he's been there throughout the entire episode. So in the next episode of Angel, she turns up at his place, not happy. Anyway, I digress. Where are we at? I'm looking at my notes here. Willow is going to the coffee shop. She runs into Angel. Of course, she goes through the whole thing about how stupid it is. But yes, while Buffy and Willow are having their conversation, Buffy is talking to Riley in the street. So Angel's kind of like, who's this guy, sort of thing. So there's a bit of a jealousy thing going on here. And if memory serves, it's been a lot of years since I checked out this series. I do think there is a part where these two meet up at some point. Might be making that up, but we'll see as we go through the episode. Just it's as I say, it's been a long, long time. So Angel's telling Willow that he's just there to look out for Buffy because she might be in trouble. Buffy then heads off to find a reverend at a church for information on the Shumash Indians, but she finds him having been hanged by the Native American man / demon who attacks her, and she gets the upper hand on him, and she thinks she's gone for the kill. But there's a whole running thing in this episode where Buffy and Willow are 50-50 on whether this guy is evil or not, considering what actually happened to his people back in the day. Whenever the settlers came, of course, his tribe was massacred, so he's come back for revenge, essentially, in this episode. So they're feeling a lot of mixed feelings towards this. Maybe he's doing the right thing, and like there's stupid arguments throughout it. How can we sort this guy out without actually slaying him? And Willow's going over stuff like, we could give him back some land and whatnot, and her and Giles get into it. Well, it's not exactly our land to give. And throughout their argument, Buffy is getting more and more stressed over this dinner she's trying to make. So he manages to get away from her. She doesn't go for the kill blow. While Willow researches the Shumash, she discovers that they were imprisoned under slavery, forced labour, various misdeeds, and that they attacked their accusers by severing ears in retaliation. So that's why the ear was missing from the curator. Earlier in the episode, Buffy realises that this guy, Huss, let's call him, is recreating the wrongs done to his people and vengeance. After overhearing the conversation from the bushes, he's turned into like coyotes in the garden watching. When he escaped, they turned into crows. So this is a thing that was big in the culture of this Native American tribe, and like a lot of them, there's a lot of legends about, you know, people can change into animals and whatnot. So he's heard everything that's going on, and he returns to the mission, and he resurrects more warriors. You know, he steals more weapons. Each weapon's connected to a warrior, and he gets himself a little army together. So back at the house, we've discovered that Anya and Xander has turned up, and he's badly sick with all these diseases and whatnot, and that's part of the curse that this Native American spirit, let's say, has put onto him. You know, Xander having broken into the mission, fallen through the floor at the beginning, he was kind of targeted as an enemy. So yeah, he's getting to be in pretty bad shape. And then there's an hour knock at the door, covered in a blanket, and worse shape than Xander. Spike, hang on, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Spike's in the woods. He's trying to escape Riley and his initiative team. They're looking for him. They're out hunting him down after him escaping in the prior episode. So he's starving, and Spike goes to see Harmony to try and get some blood from her, but she threatens to stake him, and he has to leave with only a blanket to protect him for the sun. So he shows up at Giles' place. That's where I was jumping ahead to. He's asking for help, but of course they're not happy to see him. They're looking to help him, but after he offers some inside information on the initiative, and Willow helps explain that he can't bite anyone anymore. Of course, in a prior episode, he went to kill her, went for the bite, didn't know about the chip, so he's been neutered essentially. So she backs him up, and they eventually invite him into Giles, but they tie him to a chair. Giles works out that Huss is seeking out figures of authority as his targets. Everybody that's been killed up to this point has been in some authority figure in some shape or form. So Buffy, she's worried that the Dean could be next. So let me see that. I'm lost in my notes again. I'm sorry, guys. Please forgive me. So Buffy, she's worrying now that the Dean will be the next target. So when Willow feels bad about how their people treated the Shumash and refuses to cast a spell to kill the spirits, Spike calls the gang out on their apologetic behaviour towards him, and he especially points out that Huss would not accept anyone's apologies for killing his people as a conquering nation, and that Buffy must persevere and kill him in order to survive. So throughout everything that's happening in this episode, all the arguments and whatnot, the person that has the moment of pure clarity doesn't beat about the bush about it, like plants it right in the nose, as Spike, and he says, this is the way things are. You screwed his people over, he's back, he's going to screw you over. It's as simple as that. So Willow, Xander and Anya, they leave to warn the Dean that, you know, something might happen to her, and Buffy and Giles prep for dinner, and of course they land to the Dean's house, and you know they're pretty much swiftly turned away. You know, they think they're crazy. And back at Giles' place, the spirits attack Buffy, Giles, and Spike with arrows. And there's a good bit of comedy in this finish fight, with Spike the whole way through this fight is tied to a chair, and he's just full of arrows by the end of it, and he's not a happy camper, let's just say. And all he can do is try to move out of the way. And Willow, Xander, and Anya encounter Angel on their way back, and they determine that the Shumash went after Buffy. Angel works it out straight away, in their culture. They explain that they're going after people of an authority, and Angel's like, well, in their culture it would be the strongest warrior in that case. So they work out that Buffy's the target, and of course the assault has already started. So Angel calls Giles' house, and Giles answers the phone, of course, and you don't hear Angel's side of the conversation, but Giles, being the upper crust English speaker that he is just like, oh yes, thank you very much, yes, we're very much aware of this here, and the assault has started, and blah blah blah, thank you very much, and hangs the phone up. So of course Buffy asks who it was, and he just says somebody, and yeah, where are we at? Angel shows up along with Willow, Xander, Anya, and the fight commences, and reaches a conclusion. The conclusion of the fight comes, they're throwing death shots and at these guys, nothing's killing them. Angel breaks a neck, the guy gets up again. Buffy stabs one, gets up again, nothing happens. But during the fight, she manages to get hold of the knife off the spirit, the Native American spirit, and works out. She slashes him in the arm. He starts to bleed, so she works out, his own knife can kill him. So Huss, then realising that he's going to be on the back foot here, again uses his powers to change into an animal. This time, giant black bear. Spike starts to panic, and he's like, you made a bear, undo it. I almost wet myself on the delivery of that line. I'm telling you, Spike is a very underrated character at this point in the series. You're starting to realise just how much they're starting to really like him as far as the producers goes. Now, I do recall, just to break off a little bit, I believe it was a podcast I got this information from. I think it was actually James Marsters himself, and yeah, it was, and he was explaining that originally when Spike came into it, him and Drusilla, they were kind of going to be the big bad for a season, and chances are the original plan was that Spike would be killed off, if not at the end of the series, probably before the end of the series. So I think the producers, their outlook on Spike was, well, we've already got one vampire in here as like a main sort of a character with Angel, and we need another one in there. And I might not have that 100% right, but for the majority of the first run, essentially for Spike, it was a 50-50 thing whether we're going to keep him on or not. But as we go through the rest of the series, and you see how much popularity he gained, and to jump way ahead to the final season of Angel, of course he's on there for every episode. And another podcast with him, he actually revealed that Angel was actually cancelled after season 4, and they only agreed to make season 5 because the plan was to bring Spike into it. So, it's wonderful, the stuff you find out on the internet, and this definitely did come from James Marsters about the season 5 of Angel. So it is what it is. So back to this episode. Buffy is fighting this huge black bear at the end of it, and Xander shouts across at it, hey, gentle Ben over here. And of course when the bear looks across at him, Buffy comes in with the knife the Native American knife, and stabs him in the chest, causing all the spirits to disappear. So Angel at this point throughout the final fight has been outside Giles' house fighting out there. The rest of them are all inside at this point. So whenever all these spirits disappear, he's left on his own, and he looks in and sees Buffy is okay, and walks away. So that's the end of it for Angel in that episode. But later on, as everybody sits down for the Thanksgiving dinner, of course with Spike there as well, still tied to the chair, Xander accidentally lets slip at the closing of the episode that Angel was in town. So of course this is a shock to Buffy, and how's she going to deal with it? You'll find that out in the next episode of Hellmouth Hotline whenever we do the review of Angel. And I'm not even going to attempt to remember off the top of my head what the title of that episode is, but it's a damn good one. So that's going to do it for this episode, guys. I hope you did indeed enjoy it, and I will talk to you in the next episode. This has been a production of Coins Age Media. Thank you so much for listening.